heartfelt tribute for a man many of us were privileged to know, and a picture of him, microphone in hand, trademark sheepskin coat wrapped around his shoulders on the big screen during that tribute to John Motson. So here at Ashton Gate, the chance for Bristol City to record the biggest FA Cup win that the ground has ever seen. But there's the small matter of treble-chasing Manchester City standing in their way. We're underway. And Manchester City in their change kit of light yellow and black, and in early possession with Ake, working the ball to Diaz, back to his goalkeeper Ortega, an early touch for Calvin Phillips. Manchester City supporters that have made the journey down a troublesome one, I understand, down the M6 and the M5 in the Atio stand away to our left, where Manchester City are defending that end of the ground in the first half. You're with Talksport. It is Bristol City against Manchester City. It's exclusively live for national radio, and I'm delighted to say, alongside me, the former Republic of Ireland captain, Andy Townsend.
Jim, pleasure to be here. Really looking forward to the tie. The game has just got underway. That big roar signalled the first Bristol City challenge. The first attempt to just try and disrupt City, already knocking it about a little too smooth.
With Riyad Mahrez in possession around the edge of the area, setting up Calvin Phillips. He's hit the bar. Wow. A minute in, and Phillips rattles the bar from 25 yards.
Wow. Do you know what? They've been knocking it around. So sweet, as ever, City, right from the get-go, back to the goalkeeper, everybody involved, playing in their own 18-yard box. Eventually, the ball gets up to Calvin Phillips. He's about 22 yards out on his right foot, curls it, and it rattles the crossbar. Max O'Leary nowhere near it.
Well, when you've got Pep Guardiola standing on the edge of the technical area, there's no hiding place, but more than any of his other teammates, Calvin Phillips needs a game tonight. He needs to impress. Just the one start for his new club, which came in that League Cup quarter-final defeat at Southampton, where it really didn't go well for him, but almost off to the perfect start there, although he's had his pocket picked in the midfield there by Matty James. And Akanji slides in and hasn't got it, and Sam Bell's got it in the penalty area, and he tried to work it wide towards the far post, and it's gone some way wide via a deflection, and the officials, belatedly but correctly, have given Bristol City a corner.
Yep, corner given. That's a chance, that, you know, for Sam Bell. That really is. Akanji slips, and Sam Bell on the corner of the 18-yard box then drives into the penalty area, where he's fronted up eventually by Ruben Diaz, and the ball deflects off the big centre-half and out for a corner. But that presents itself as a reasonable opportunity. I think Sam Bell may have done a little more with that. Didn't quite get it out of his feet enough. A little bit too late in making the decision. And a really good situation there goes away.
Corner is taken short by Bristol City away over on the far touchline. It's easily dealt with. Back by Williams in the midfield, and then James, the former Leicester man, former Premier League winner, hooks the ball all the way back to his goalkeeper O'Leary, drives it forward long and through the West Country night sky. Brought down again by Williams, just heading it forward in the midfield. James can get Alex Scott in possession, works out towards the right-hand side where Sykes will deliver. His cross is blocked. It ricochets awkwardly for Manchester City inside the penalty area. A spinning ball that City are eventually able to bring away down the right-hand touchline. And a strong challenge comes in from Cam Pring, the left-back on De Bruyne. And it goes out of play for a throw, which will be taken on the Manchester City right-hand side. Some start of the game, Andy Townsend.
Really good start. Yeah, really bright from both teams, actually. Fair play to Bristol City, what they are doing. When City have good possession on the halfway line, drop back in, hold your shape, be nice and compact. But when they do pinch the ball, then they've got red shirts pouring forward. That's exactly what the home fans want to see.
Now Lewis has got it in the midfield, and he plays it to Mahrez and back again. Now Manchester City are playing with this same 3-2-4-1 formation that they adopted down in Dorset at Bournemouth at the weekend. We'll get half-time details from Stoke in a moment, incidentally, where Brighton are ahead. Here's Phil Foden in possession. Foden, who was excellent at Bournemouth at the weekend. And the ball, I thought, had gone out of play over on the far touchline for a throw. Bristol City fans thought the same. And Manchester City at liberty to carry on. It had been kept in. This is Nathan Ake, who's got it. The man that scored the winner for Manchester City in the 4th round. Finding Diaz to Akanji. And now Lewis in the midfield. The teenager working it forward. Spun round the corner by Alvarez. Looking for De Bruyne. Won back by Pring. And his goalkeeper O'Leary will clear. So we'll get half-time details from Stoke. Here's Adam Bridge.
Stoke 0, Brighton 1. Evan Ferguson's 6th goal of the season in all competitions separate the sides. Stoke coming closest to an equaliser through Thompson's long-range shot. That was well saved by Steele. Half-time, Stoke City 0, Brighton 1.
And a goal at the King Power, Jeff Peters.
It's Leicester City 0, Blackburn Rovers 1. The shock is on. Tyree Stolen with a finish from just outside the penalty area. Right-footed. He should have scored a couple of minutes before. Denied by the goalkeeper. But he's put the Championship side in front. Drama here. It's Leicester 0, Blackburn 1.
Phil Foden winning possession on the Manchester City left. Ball then brought down over on that far side by Bernardo Silva, who's got the cross into the hands of O'Leary, and the deadlock broken very early on in the Championship game at Luton. Ian Abrahams.
3 minutes gone, Luton 0, Millwall 1. Long ball forward, headed down to Zien Fleming, 15 yards out left of centre. His shot straight at Horwath, but unfortunately let it go right through his hands. Terrible goalkeeping error. Luton 0, Millwall 1.
Manning's 12th of the season. The other game in the Championship tonight, 0-0 between Preston and Coventry. We're 6 minutes into this one at Ashton Gate. You've not had time to really hear yourself think so far. Bristol City 0, Manchester City 0. And just your thoughts on this Manchester City formation, Andy?
Yeah, look, very flexible, isn't it? You're right, the way they've started. Rico Lewis is in there right alongside Calvin Phillips, so as it allows Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne to play as 2 number 10s. And then you've got Phil Foden high wide left, Mahrez high and wide on the right, with Alvarez up the middle. But of course, when they go out of possession, people have to get back. They've got to recover. I would imagine Rico Lewis will be asked from time to time to get into the gully, almost as a fullback when Bristol City have good possession. But when City have the ball, there's so much movement. There's always that lovely fluid feel about what they do, so very difficult to keep tabs on them.
Now Ake to Mahrez, ball in towards the far post and placed in by Foden.
Wow,
Manchester City lead. It's taken them less than 7 minutes. Hit the bar very early on, and it hasn't taken much longer for Phil Foden to supply the breakthrough. Brilliant 1-2 down the right. De Bruyne and Mahrez smashed across the face of the 6-yard box. Nobody had picked up the run of Foden coming in from left wing back, and he blazes it in to give Manchester City the lead.
It's brilliant football. It's a big switch from left to right to Mahrez, then the give and go between him and De Bruyne, and from the edge of the 18-yard box out wide, Mahrez flashes it across the 6-yard box where Phil Foden is waiting at the far post from a tight angle. It's got to be said, it's not a gimme, this one. It's come at him fast. The goalkeeper Max O'Leary is scrambling back to his back post, but he can't stop Phil Foden ramming that into the roof of the net. And that's a lead for Manchester City inside the opening 7-8 minutes. Some start.
Well, he scored at the weekend. That's his 11th of the season now, Phil Foden. He's got such a good record in this competition with 9 goals in 18 FA Cup ties in his career. As Kevin De Bruyne is guilty of a poor challenge. Scott the man brought down, and a free kick to Bristol City, led with the edge of the Manchester City penalty area.
Yep, and it was a free kick on Alex Scott, who's actually showed 1 or 2 nice touches already in this opening period of the game. But look, I'm sure Bristol City will have spoke about going down, going behind, and that's where they find themselves right now. Head up, keep going, keep playing, keep believing. Chance here from this wide free kick.
It's Matty James that stands over it for Bristol City. He's got 6 in red and white pinstripes inside the penalty area. James with his left arm above his head rolls it short across the edge of the area. Scott takes a touch, then a second, and bulldozes his way through the penalty area before eventually being stopped by Akanji. James then plays it forward, and he takes a deflection off Akanji. Goes out of play for another Bristol City corner. Manchester City leading this one 1-0. We've got a live game for you over on Talksport 2, where Joao Palhinha's just scored a screamer for Fulham, who Leeds 1-0. Corner taken short, Scott plays it in, feels for handball, very optimistic, and Manchester City will motor forward on the counter-attack. De Bruyne, has he put it too close to the keeper? He has. Just trying to play a long crossfield ball for the runners who are coming down the Manchester City left. De Bruyne had possession on the right, and he sent a long diagonal, but just got the angle wrong, too close to Bristol City goalkeeper O'Leary, who could come out and claim it, and it remains 1-0 to Manchester City.
Yeah, we just saw there the speed with which Manchester City counter-attack, from blocking a ball inside their own 18-yard box so quickly. They sprinted over the halfway line. De Bruyne actually this time, those arrowing passes 50-60 yards that normally find the target, unfortunately this time, and it was a real relief for Bristol City that it didn't, because otherwise they had men over at the back post.
Those are thoughts of Andy Townsend, the former Republic of Ireland captain. And you're listening to Bristol City against Manchester City in the FA Cup 5th round. It's live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly. Bristol City not cowed by the early concession. Sykes played in by Scott. He's in the penalty area. Lewis had his arms on him. Referee says no penalty. Play stopped for a moment. I think even the Manchester City players might have been anticipating that a penalty was going to be given for that. There is no VAR tonight, so all the decisions squarely on the shoulders of Andre Mariner. Nigel Pearson stands on the edge of the Bristol City technical area with his hands on his head. He can't believe that a penalty hasn't been given for the challenge by Lewis on Sykes.
I tell you what, Mark Sykes is the wrong side of Rico Lewis. The young defender puts his arm on the shoulder of the Bristol City flyer, who is just about to get that ball out of his feet and take the shot. Hits the floor, nothing doing according to Andre Mariner. That's really, really close. I'll tell you what, if we'd have had VAR, Jim, tonight, that would have been a really tight call, but I think that's a penalty.
Well, he's been in really good form, Sykes. He's scored 5 goals in his last 9 games. One of those coming in the FA Cup replay win at Swansea. Sam Bell has really made this competition his own. He's the son of Bristol City legend Mickey Bell, who played nearly 400 games for the club. And Bell Jr., 3 goals in his last 2 FA Cup ties. Here's Phil Foden, who scored the 1 so far tonight, chasing a long ball. Play down the left-hand side of the Manchester City penalty area, and O'Leary comes out to claim it. Now we're 12 minutes in, and it's been harum-scarum, breathless stuff. A brilliant cup tie with Foden's goal, the difference.
Hasn't it been good? And it's been good because Bristol City do believe they are committing men forward ahead of the ball. And again, Alex Scott there, we just saw him pick the ball up on the halfway line, stride 10 yards with it, release the perfect pass for Mark Sykes, who again, it was a great run into the box, and a big call for Andre Mariner, who shook his head and said no. Has to be said pretty quickly, but I honestly think that one could well have been a penalty. I really do.
Now, Bristol City had that long run without being given a penalty, 469 days until it recently came to an end. Now they've had one in successive games, and will feel that they should have had a penalty in a 3rd successive match there. 1-0 Manchester City lead here at Bristol City. Jim Proudfoot and Andy Townsend talking you through the action from Ashton Gate tonight, which isn't quite a sellout because of the segregation. 25,500 they reckon going to be here, with about 3,500 making their way down from Manchester, and in the Atio stand away to our left. And in good humour and voice, the Manchester City fans. Here's Thomas Callas. They're turning it out from the back for Williams, and now the man known as the Guernsey Grealish. Scott playing it forward. Bell inside the penalty area. Wells goes down, but the offside flag was up, and to render any debate about that potential penalty incident irrelevant.
Again, brilliant footwork from Alex Scott. You know, he's playing as a number 10 for this Bristol City team, and he's picked up some lovely positions, and every time he's got it, he's had the confidence to take a touch under pressure, skip past a challenge, resist a challenge, pick his head up and find someone. He's been really impressive in this opening 13 and a half minutes.
Now Ortega just got a bang to the face there from Bell as he ran past him. It was an innocuous collision, but knee around the side of the head, I think, and will have caused him a little bit of grief, no doubt about that, and he's just being treated now. But Scott's got something about him. You can see why he's been linked, even in the last 24 hours, to a £25 million move to Newcastle United.
You really can. He's sharp, he's very quick, and he's got He's very light on his feet, dabs the ball, left foot, right foot, invites the challenge, come and get it if you can, and then pretty swiftly is able to skip past and, as I said, resist a challenge or two. He's quite a tall boy. He's slight built, but he's quite a tall lad, but he looks ever so quick across the top of the ground, and again been very, very impressive. What I really like about him is that once he's gone past the challenge, he's then got the quality to find a teammate. He's then got the touch, the feel of a nice 10-20 yard pass to give someone a chance to bear down on goal. He's done that 2 or 3 times already.
Ortega's most significant injury in that coming together, I think, was his hand. They just had his one glove off and they were looking at it. He's okay. He's going to be able to continue having received some treatment, and it will be a free kick to restart play for the offside, which Akanji will take for Manchester City. Just a tap forward into the path of Rico Lewis and back for Ortega. Takes a touch inside his penalty area and then spins one out towards Nathan Ake on the Manchester City left. 15 minutes in, and it's the Citizens who lead the Robins by a goal to nil, with Lewis in possession inside the centre circle for Manchester City. Mahrez to his right hand side, and that is the pass that is played. Mahrez laying it back to Akanji, now to Ruben Dias. Manchester City have got such a good record against sides from lower divisions in the FA Cup. They've won each of their last 12 ties since a famous defeat at Wigan a few years back. Foden plays it in now, and Alvarez missed his kick. He tried to whack it towards goal with his left foot, and it hit his right foot, his standing leg, and bounced to safety for Bristol City. But that was a let-off for the Championship side.
Certainly was. Brilliant football again this time from Manchester City. Yeah, and Phil Foden's almost cross-come shot really found Julian Alvarez. Had he have hit that sweetly first touch on his left foot, it might well have given Max O'Leary far too much to do to stop that. What's been so exciting about this game so far again is the mindset of the home team. You know, I see Premier League teams set up against Manchester City and drop back into a shape, let them have the ball and hope that they can hang on to a certain point in the game where they might be able to snatch something. No, that is not the way Nigel Pearson has set this Bristol City team up. Every time they get possession, they're pouring men forward, and it's making for a great watch.
Well, it's a shot to nothing for them. They are unbeaten in 12, and I think that their excellent recent form has just seen confidence come, as it's likely to do when you've got some youngsters who are playing the best football of their lives. Williams has just won a free kick in the centre circle for Bristol City. Bristol City, as I mentioned, unbeaten in 12. Their last defeat here against West Brom back on Boxing Day. But they've scored a fair few goals in that run, which started with a 0-0 draw. They've found the net in every game since then. Ball played forward here by Zach Viner. Another one of the local lads playing at centre half, out towards the right hand side. Sykes getting it in, headed away by Akanji. Mahrez calm, it's played the way that he was facing, back for Calvin Phillips. This is where Manchester City can be absolutely devastating on the counter attack. Alvarez never got the chance to show it though, because a sliding challenge from Callas came and won it back, and then Pring mops up, finds his goalkeeper, and O'Leary gets it out of harm's way and into the feet of Sam Bell.
Fantastic challenge from Callas, had to make it as well, because this time De Bruyne just drops it off to Alvarez and was looking for the return.
And here come Bristol City once more. Roar of expectations, the ball's played out to Scott. Scott running, right-footed effort, right in front of Ortega. One of his teammates, Sykes, thinks since he was going to be in an offside position, didn't try and throw a foot out to divert the shot from Scott, and Ortega can make the save.
This time, yeah, Alex Scott drifts out wide left, receives the ball, runs at Manuel Akanji, drives him back into his own 18-yard box, then steps inside on his right foot, hits it well enough. Comfortable save for Ortega.
A couple of big games in the National League tonight. Adrian told you that Wrexham were leading Chesterfield. The big one at the bottom, Maidstone leads Scunthorpe by a goal. That's the bottom two, both in relegation trouble. Nearly half-time at Leicester, who trail at home to Blackburn by a goal to nil. And a reminder live for you right now over on Talksport 2, Fulham leading Leeds in the FA Cup. No offside flag against Bernardo Silva for Manchester City. Foden dropping his shoulder, taking on Williams, playing the ball out towards Bernardo Silva, who twists and then lays it back for Foden again. Ake to Calvin Phillips. Phillips curving one down to the Manchester City right for Mahrez. It was cleared by Pring. The Pep's men able to win it back in a deeper position inside the centre circle. They've got it with Lewis. Lewis just chipping it out towards the Manchester City left, where Phil Foden, the goal scorer, has it. Cleverly done, work round the corner. Bernardo Silva onside, fired in the penalty area. Pring with a diving header away. Helped further clear by the retreating Naki Wells. One of the few in this Bristol City side with a little bit of Premier League experience, the former Burnley man. Akanji winning it back. Calvin Phillips, De Bruyne slipping it behind Alvarez. James can turn, and Bristol City might be able to get going again, but a misplaced pass through the midfield from Williams was too hot for Sam Bell's run, and it goes straight through for Ortega. 20 gone, and it's 1-0 to Manchester City.
Yep. Good game, really good game. Lovely goal from Phil Foden to give City the lead in that opening 10-minute period. But Bristol City have come back and have shown that they've got quality as well as lots of spirit. And again, I think we're all set up for a real test here for City. This has not been straightforward for them. Some of their football, City, when they pinch the ball, Manchester City I should say, they play with such precision and one touch. It's just wonderful to watch, it really is. So for the home team, it's not going to be straightforward. They're committing people forward. When they lose it, they've got to recover as quickly as they can, because Guardiola's team don't take long to travel from back to front. A couple of 3 passes, they can be in right behind you.
And Bristol City almost winning it back again. Rico Lewis was just given a push there by Scott. Let's get half-time details from Leicester. Jeff Peters.
Yeah, Tyree Stolen giving Blackburn the lead just after the half hour. 1-0 they lead it. Intercepted a terrible Amate pass. Curled a lovely effort for his 6th of the season. Leicester have been dreadful at the back, so the scoreline is a shock, but not a shock. Leicester 0, Blackburn 1.
Jeff, thank you. You're listening to FA Cup exclusive on Talksport. And after us, Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy will be opening up the sports bar, give you a chance to have your say on national radio to everything that you've heard tonight. Delighted to say that the esteemed Mr. McCoy is sitting right in front of us. He's on breakfast duty tomorrow. Get that overnight limousine back down the M4. We'll get it fired up for Ali tomorrow morning with Alan Brazil on the Talksport breakfast from 6 with Adrian amongst the guests, Gabby Agbon-Lahore as well, and much more. Here's Rico Lewis for Manchester City. Back for Ruben Dias. We're midway through an absorbing first half. Alvarez for Manchester City, turning, laying it out to the bottom left-hand corner of the penalty area. Lovely little give and go between Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva. Back he goes for Foden, who plays 200th Manchester City game at the weekend. Now De Bruyne, interchanging passes with Ake on the edge of the area. Slipped in for Bernardo Silva, but he just was half a yard away from getting it. Lucky. And it goes through for O'Leary.
Yeah. Some real fast one-touch passes between Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne and Nathan Ake from that left-sided central defensive position. He's got himself into the box, and in the end, the pass for Bernardo Silva just a fraction over hit.
There are 2 Premier League games tomorrow. We've got them both for you here on the Talksport network, with our coverage beginning over at 6 on Talksport 2. Here's De Bruyne trying his luck from distance. It was well blocked by Sykes. Volley back in from Mahrez. It may have been going wide, headed off the line in any case. Down by the post by the retreating Tamas Kallas, and had a play for a Manchester City corner.
Yeah, it's Zach Viner who actually concedes possession. He strides into midfield and doesn't pick a pass, and just takes too long to decide what to do with it from there. City, quick as a flash, counter-attack, and the shot from Mahrez is deflected wide.
The corner is worked short, headed high up in the air on the edge of the 6-yard box, back in by Ruben Dias, and a flying save from O'Leary diving to his right-hand side. He was able to catch it. When Manchester City do break forward, they clearly have a real potency about them, but as we've been mentioning, Bristol City doing their best to give as good as they're getting going forward, particularly quick on the counter-attack going the other way.
Yeah, just got to be a little careful, Bristol City, in the way that they're playing from the back into midfield. There's no doubt when they get it up to the halfway line and beyond, they look dangerous. They look like they can cause Manchester City some problems, but they don't want to create too many of their own by being just trying to be too intricate along their own back line.
Here's Williams finding Thomas Callas, who made his first start of the season on Saturday, has really been struggling with injuries over the last 12 months, knee and groin problems, but bring that little bit of experience back into the back line in the absence of Rob Atkinson, who's out with an ACL for the rest of this season. Partnering a man who's been one of Bristol City's best players over the course of this season, Zach Viner. Sam Bell's offside there. Let me remind you, tomorrow, as I mentioned, 2 Premier League games. Over on Talksport 2, our coverage begins at 6, and then at 7 here on Talksport. Ahead of 2 matches which aren't available to watch on UK TV. We'll be bringing you Arsenal's game in hand at home to Everton, in which they aim to open up a 5-point gap at the top of the league over Manchester City. And on Talksport 2, it's Liverpool-Wolves, with the Reds back in the top 6 with a victory there. It's Arsenal-Everton, which kicks off at 7:45 on Talksport. Liverpool-Wolves at 8 on Talksport 2. We've got them both live and exclusive to national radio tomorrow. 25 minutes in, Manchester City leading this 1-0. Ake's in possession, and he plays it back for Ruben Dias on the edge of the D. Now to Akanji. Straight ball forward from him. De Bruyne comes to meet it. Drops it off at the feet of Rico Lewis, and he can venture some 20 yards forward. Pings it out to the left-hand side, slightly misdirected. It was behind Phil Foden, who had to break his stride and slipped as he did so, and he just sails out of play. One of the Lansdowne stand for a throw which will be taken by Bristol City.
Yeah, that'll be for Rico Lewis, this young man who's, as we mentioned, can play anywhere. They'll be the key moments for him. He picked the ball up there right on the halfway line, at 10, 15, 20 yards of space in front of him, and it's about picking that right pass. And that one out to Phil Foden was fractionally behind him, and Foden just lost his footing, and the chance of a swift counter-attack had gone missing. But look, Rico Lewis has got such a cool head, a composed head for such a young man playing in that position. Always senses danger, always quick enough to recover. But again, when he plays in there from time to time, as he bursts forward, it's about picking that right forward pass, and just on that occasion he just didn't quite find it.
In League 2, Stevenage have been really struggling recently, down to 3rd, 2 points from a possible 15, and they trail at Wimbledon 1-0. Elsewhere in League 2, Salford a goal up at Barrow, and Bradford lead at Gillingham, who start the day in the bottom 5 but improving fast. And they're 1-0 up Mark Hughes' men down in Kent tonight. Here in the city of Bristol, Manchester City lead it 1-0. This is the first ever meeting of these two in the FA Cup. Now, Manchester City have, perhaps unsurprisingly, won each of the last 4 games between the pair of them. Last man to score a winner for Bristol City in this fixture turned 71 today. He's celebrating his 71st birthday with a seat here. Right, David Rogers, one of the Ashton Gate 8 from back in the early 80s. An 8-man who, as Bristol City players, ripped their contract up to save the club, and still revered for the selfless decision that they made back then. David Rogers, one of those. And he scored the winner the last time Bristol City beat Manchester City. It was a game which Paul Power was sent off, and the Robins winning it 1-0 here. It was a long time ago, back in 1979. Manchester City lead 1-0 tonight. Bristol City certainly punching above their weight, though, and have been impressive so far, albeit that Manchester City might feel they've had the chances to be further in front. They've hit the bar, they've had one cleared off the line by Callas. Throw to be taken by Pring. Up the line, Akanji heading it through the midfield. It was a nice touch by Sykes. Bell conceivably was offside. Play goes on with Manchester City clearing it. Williams has got it. Jones lobs it over the top. It'll be chased by Bell, and Lewis did well throwing himself at it defensively. Covered the run of Bell from the midfield and heads it back to his keeper. Yeah, and that's that position for Rico Lewis. He's in there alongside Calvin Phillips. As soon as they lost the ball, he very quickly dropped back into that right back position and just managed to steer that one back to his goalkeeper, Ortega. It's important again that he's always anticipating when they lose the ball, that he's got another job to do, he's got something else to think about. That's why that position in this City team is so crucial. Derby lead Cheltenham 1-0 just before half-time in League One. Also in League One, Lincoln leading the MK Dons by a goal to nil, and goalless at Peterborough and at Portsmouth, at home to Charlton and Bolton respectively. Manchester City in possession, almost lost it, and it was Viner stepping up from the defensive line. He's now out of position as Manchester City can break quickly. Viner very quickly got back alongside Callas. Manchester City still have it. Phillips having to retreat inside his own half to field a ball from De Bruyne. Diaz now back for Calvin Phillips, whose control was a little awkward and under pressure from Scott. He had to turn it back for Ortega, and he needed 3 or 4 touches as well. Does get it out from between his feet to chip it out towards Foden on the Manchester City left. Williams wins it back. Nahki Wells then playing it forward. Sykes knows he's offside, can't go for it, and Ake watches it over the line and out for a throw. We're half an hour in, and it's 1-0 to Pep's men.
And it's a good contest, it really is. City have scored an excellent goal, very well taken first time from Phil Foden from a really tight angle. But I like the pressure that Bristol City are applying to Manchester City. I like the way that they're not just standing off them, afraid to go and mix it with them. They're going toe-to-toe, they really are. And it's making for a really enjoyable and a test for City. You know, we like to see the best teams tested, and we're certainly seeing that here this evening. All of those Manchester City players know that they're in a game. They cannot lose their concentration or their focus, because this home team are up for it. They want to really try and commit people forward, and given a chance they will.
Rico Lewis bringing the ball through the centre circle, and again he's able to make 30-40 yards without a challenge coming in. Plays it to his left hand side. Foden now towards the blonde-haired Belgian De Bruyne. Back for Foden again. Phillips 10 yards outside the penalty area. Square to his left for Ake. Ake now back out towards the touchline for De Bruyne, who's faced up by the blonde-haired Northern Ireland international Sykes. Back he comes for Akanji. Riyad Mahrez stepping in off the right-hand touchline for Manchester City again. And the possession pretty easy to come by for Manchester City, but Bristolians have shown that they have this potent threat on the counter-attack. They will be able to get it forward so quickly if Manchester City lose the ball. Here's De Bruyne, right-footed effort from him, and he sent it sailing into the south stand, and out of play for a goal kick that'll be taken by O'Leary.
Yeah, big switch from Riyad Mahrez off of the right side to Kevin De Bruyne, who's high, wide and left in line with the 18-yard box. First touch is good, drives in right to the corner of that 18-yard box and wants to wrap his right foot around it. Unfortunately just gets underneath it too much, and it sails harmlessly right into the red and white shirts behind the goal.
Well, this is a Bristol City side in their longest unbeaten run for 4 years. They went 15 unbeaten back then. It's 12 at the moment. That particular run actually ended with a home defeat in an FA Cup 5th round tie when they lost to Wolves on the back of a 9-game winning run, one of the longest in their history. Bristol City have it again with Sam Bell just given a little shove by Lewis, and then Mahrez goes to the ground. Bell caught him, and it's a free kick which will be taken on the Manchester City right. Half-time in the Championship at Deepdale. Here's Graham Beecroft.
Yes, Preston North End 0, Coventry City 0. An excellent first half, with Preston changing from their tepid passing style to produce some long ball football, which made them a much more dangerous proposition than in recent matches. Coventry forced a good save from Woodman after 9 minutes. Allen volleyed over after 7 minutes, but Evans at the other end, returning to the Preston team after suspension, shot into the side netting and had a goal-bound shot deflected over the bar. Preston North End 0, Coventry City 0.
Elsewhere in the Championship, Millwall still lead at Luton by a goal nil after that very early goal. Wrexham 2 up at home to Chesterfield in the National League coming up to half-time. They'll be back on top of the table if it stays that way. Starting the night 2 points adrift of Notts County with 2 games in hand. So in a very strong position if they were to hold on tonight. They're 2 goals to the good. O'Leary clearing from the edge of his own penalty area. Akanji coming to meet it. Bristol City give a free kick away, which Scott wasn't very happy with the decision, but it's a free kick Akanji will take. I think it's gone against Nahki Wells. Yeah,
I mean, Nahki Wells is up against giants in Akanji and Ruben Diaz, and the ball there served up to him. Unfortunately, what he did as the ball was in flight, he turned around to see where Akanji was and just wanted to back into him without really challenging for the ball, and the referee quite rightly gives Manchester City a free kick. I was just watching Nigel Pearson in the technical area, which isn't the biggest technical area, I've got to say, is it? And I'm watching Nigel pacing up and down, and already I think he's got a little too close to to his opposite number once or twice, stepping outside that technical area.
It is maybe the size of an average tablecloth. I mean, not a lot bigger than that. you couldn't get many on that if it was a picnic blanket, certainly. But Nigel's there kicking every ball. On the edge of that, the man who played in the 1997 final for Middlesbrough against Chelsea. He's reached the quarterfinals once as a manager. That was with Leicester back in 2012. Hoping to emulate that tonight with what would be a huge scalp and a big shot, particularly after the early concession. But it remains just one. Foden to De Bruyne, who's lost it, and Bristol City bring it forward now with the confident Sam Bell playing with a swagger, gets it onto his right foot, fired it in over the bar, but worked the angle cleverly enough, just couldn't keep it down.
Unlucky. Not exactly the right thing. Just watching Nigel Pearson applaud Sam Bell for the run, the intent that he showed as soon as he picked the ball up, running at Akanji. Doesn't always look so comfortable when players are taking him on. This time Sam Bell steps inside and from the edge of the box, again unfortunately gets underneath it too much and skies it handsomely over the top. But it's the right idea, absolutely, and that's all you can ask for. That's why the coach is out there applauding his players. Try and do the right things, be brave enough to take people on and really commit to it.
He's been playing through the middle recently, Bell, which is his favoured position as Ortega chips it out of play. Anis Mehmeti has done brilliantly well, the Albanian winger, since he signed from Wycombe, but he's cup-tied, missing out tonight. There have been some Premier League interest in Mehmeti, but he ended up here at Ashton Gate and has really hit the ground running. So they tend to play Bell through the middle and Mehmeti on the left. Wells brought back tonight because Mehmeti can't play. Rico Lewis has got the ball in his hand. I'm sorry, Anne. So throw to Manchester City, who still lead 1-0.
Just going to say, Naki Wells, when you're a smaller guy up against two giants and the service into it isn't always perfect.
As Scott has it for Bristol City and wins the corner.
Just going to say, he's just got to keep on the move, play off the shoulder, just look for an angle or two. As you hear that roar, as Alex Scott again picks the ball up, drives into the box. Didn't really find anything on the end of it, but managed to knock it against a Manchester City shirt away for a corner.
Matty James is going to take this corner. It's Bristol City's third. And there are 6 inside the penalty area again. He's swung in dangerously. Calvin Phillips heads it away. Out as far as Scott, 20 yards out. He's worked it back for Williams. Williams a little bit too much on that to try to work it out to the Bristol City right-hand side. It gets Sykes in behind Bernardo Silva, but it was too fierce a pass.
Yeah, unlucky. Right idea again. Alex Scott showed nice composure this time when that ball was headed clear from that corner. Lovely control, one-touch pass across the midfield area. And as Bristol City tried to develop something down the right side, the ball just overhit. And it goes out for a Manchester City throw.
A reminder, we've got a choice of listening for you on Talksport tonight. Here, it's Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1 over on Talksport 2. Fulham leading Leeds by a goal to nil at half-time, and they're 20 minutes into the second half in the early kick-off in the Potteries tonight. Let's get an update. Stoke Brighton from Adam Bridge.
Still Stoke City 0, Brighton 1, but moments ago Stoke with their best chance of the game. Tuanzebe with a free header on the right-hand side of the penalty area. The keeper was rooted to the spot. We all held our breath as it just sailed past the right-hand post. It remains Stoke 0, Brighton 1.
So Brighton going through there. Blackburn going through at Leicester. They've just begun the second half. A couple of minutes into it there, and it's 1-0 to Blackburn Rovers with Dolan's goal in the first period. Here's Phil Foden, who's got the only goal here. It's majestic control. Oh, brilliant. Just sublime from Foden, who brought it down on his left foot. He flicked it over his shoulder. He turned, poked out the left foot and beat another challenge. And then just when it looked as though he was second favourite, he was on the stretch, got his toe to it to flick it away and steer it towards a teammate, and got caught in the process by Alex Scott. That was just brilliant play.
It was brilliant play, because the ball always looked like it was getting away from Phil Foden, yet somehow, as you say, Jim, he managed to keep possession of it. In the end, he runs into Alex Scott a little bit, takes the shoulder right full on the chin. I've got to say, his feet are great and his chin's not bad as well, because he's bounced back up.
He's up against Jake Paul next, isn't he? Phil Foden. Ball played to the left-hand side of the penalty area. And it's cleared easily enough by George Tanner, who's up against Foden tonight. They've met before, playing for Manchester United and Manchester City Youth in a FA Youth Cup tie some 6 seasons ago. Foden scored that day. George Tanner let go by Manchester United, but making a good career down here in the West Country. Manchester City on the front foot again. Viner sweeps across away as it was played in fiercely by Foden. Viner's clearance is much nearer halfway than the edge of his own penalty area, and out for a throw that Ake will take.
Yeah, again, City doing that a lot, the big switch, 40, 50 yard diagonals from right to left to right. This time it goes out to Phil Foden, whose touch is really good, takes him past Sam Bell, but the final ball into the box just doesn't find a Manchester City shirt.
Ortega, who's been playing in all of the domestic cup ties this season. 6 in a row for him. He started the last 2 Champions League ties in the group stage as well, but still waits for his Premier League debut. He's in all royal blue tonight. Manchester City in their change kit of light yellow with black markings, and Bristol City in their new kit of red shirts and white pinstripes. It is actually next season's kit. They've had a problem with the previous supplier. They were playing in what looked like an old Arsenal shirt up until about 10 days ago with red shirts and white sleeves, but there's a change of kit for them now with all red with just white pinstripes, and they got the ball in the midfield with Williams.
What's the colour of that City shirt, Jim?
Well, I'm not necessarily the man to ask, being colourblind, but I'm going for off yellow.
Right.
Or green, who knows. Ball forward with Foden. Foden to De Bruyne. De Bruyne again! Over the bar. Got himself into a really good position. Foden finding him, but he just leant back. The angle tight, by his standards, a good chance.
Yeah, really good chance. Phil Foden it was, who actually found himself drifting in right in the middle of the park. First time pass out to Kevin De Bruyne, who's now in the box, but on his left foot from a tight angle. Hits it hard, shot always rising, and Max O'Leary delighted to see that one skipping over the crossbar. They've had a few of those, City, where they've got into good areas close to the edge of the box. And a second one for the home team right now would really hurt. They've got to hang in there till half time.
Ask me that same question again about Manchester City's kit.
What colour are they?
It is neon yellow with spray paint black hoops. There you go. Here's Williams.
It's one of Adrian's shirts.
Sure, I've done there thinking about the ball back with Tanner. Tanner to Viner. Viner knocking it through the midfield for Sykes. And then will be worked out towards the far touchline where Ake slides it out of play with 3 minutes from half time. Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1 remains the score. Phil Foden's goal on 7 minutes, his 11th of the season. Calvin Phillips had hit the bar a minute in. Callas has cleared one off the line, but Bristol City, without forcing a difficult save from Ortega, have had some very lively moments in and around the edge of the penalty area. As Scott has enhanced his already impressive reputation, and Bell has done well off the left flank as well. It's been another goal at the King Power on Talksport. Jeff Peters.
It's Leicester City 0, Blackburn Rovers 2. Sammy Smodics has wriggled his way into the box and steered beyond Everson, and they deserve this as well. They are hugely on top. Dolan and Smodics with the goals. Leicester 0, Blackburn 2.
Akanji's just been caught. Naki Wells is going to be spoken to by Andre Mariner. And it's going to be a free kick which Manchester City will take on the edge of their own penalty area. What are your reflections on the first half, Andy Townsend?
Yeah, really enjoyable game. Typical cup tie. Delighted to see the mindset of Bristol City. Having a go, committing people forward, getting people ahead of the ball when they can, getting that ball into the box. As you said, they've had 2 or 3 situations. They had a really strong call for a penalty. They really did. I thought Mark Sykes was the wrong side of Rico Lewis, and an arm went on his shoulder, down he goes, nothing given. Could have got back in the game like that.
Ake looks long, Foden wraps his foot around it, got the cross in. Callas sliced his clearance out of play for a corner. All eyes on the assistant referee on this near touchline, Adam Nunn. Bristol City fans standing, players standing as a man and looking at the assistant referee. They felt that he should have been an offside there against Foden, but nothing given, and it's a corner instead to Manchester City.
Would have been close, certainly, that one. Phil Foden had made just look like he fractionally strayed offside.
Corner worked short. Foden back for De Bruyne, right-footed in swinging. Cross is headed away by James, only as far as Phillips. Mahrez brings it down. Lewis has got options to his left. Now played in towards Ruben Dias. What a good block that was. Crucial one as well from Pring, who gets high fives from his teammates because Ruben Dias struck that so sweetly, only about 8-9 yards out, and Pring threw himself into the line of fire with no thought of personal health as he did so, and it was a goal-saving intervention.
Big block that from Cam Pring. Very important again that Bristol City do go in at the interval, just the one goal behind. They'll know they're very much in the tie, but they cannot afford to let City just breach that back line once more before half-time. That really will hurt because they've played ever so well. They've given absolutely everything so far. It's been a terrific game of football.
A couple of minutes of added time. The end of this first half on Talksport. Those were the thoughts of Andy Townsend. Ball's gone out of play for a goal kick, which will be taken by Manchester City's Stefan Ortega. Pep's got such a good record in his managerial career against lower division opposition. Played 35, won 34,
wow,
which is pretty tidy.
Yeah.
The one exception being that Manchester City defeat at Wigan back in 2018 in the fifth round of the Cup. That was the last time that they lost at this stage. They've made it through to at least the semi-finals in 5 of the last 6 seasons and have lost in the semi-finals in each of the last 3. And since then, back in 2018, they've won every FA Cup tie that they've played away from home. Not the neutral ones, but away from home. They've won them all, 10 in a row, which is the best record in the FA Cup ever. Here's Foden as Manchester City look to double their lead before half-time. Bernardo Silva, cushion layoff. Foden for Calvin Phillips, who hit the bar in the first minute of the half, and he's hit about row J in the last minute of it.
Yeah, lovely football though from City again. I've got to say, the way they pop it about one touch and the movement that they have, the understanding they have when they're in good possession of the ball, it's always a delight to watch. You don't get tired of watching Manchester City do that, strutting their stuff in this sort of fashion. And again, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, they all rotate so much. Very, very difficult to tie any of those guys down. So nearest red shirt to the ball has just got to try and get out there, front it up and just force them sideways. Buy your team a little bit of time where you can just kind of recover and get men back. That's all you can do.
Andre Mariner brings the first half to an end. Phil Foden's 7th minute goal. The difference between the two teams, Manchester City will feel that they could have had more. There's been some excellent Bristol City defending that has prevented that happening. Callas knocking one off the line. A really good block from Pring a few moments ago. Bristol City will feel that they should have had a penalty at the other end. It's been an engaging cup tie, every bit as good as the 25,500 would have hoped for. But at the break, it's not the result most of them wanted. Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1.
Well, it's a scoreline that means Bristol City are still in it, and the way they've played, pouring men forward when they've got the ball and they get over the halfway line, you wouldn't rule out Bristol City scoring in this tie, but boy, Manchester City have played well and had some really good chances in that first half. They lead by a goal to 0, but it's definitely a scoreline that gives the home side, the Championship side, a chance. Just to recap so far, Stoke 0, Brighton 1, that was a 7:15 kickoff. Leicester 0, Blackburn 2, that was a 7:30 kickoff. Fulham Leeds is 1-0 to Fulham on Talksport 2. They'll be getting the second half underway any moment. And Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1 here at Ashton Gate. Phil Foden with the only goal, and what a goal, Andy Townsend. Mahrez on the right, his first touch as ever, immense. A 1-2. The ball across, and Phil Foden slams it in from an acute angle. It's a terrific finish, terrific ball across. But if you're the goalie, Max O'Leary, do you come for that or not?
Well, I think he's had to scramble towards the near post when he sees Mahrez, in case Mahrez takes the shot. And then he whips it hard across that 6-yard line to Phil Foden at the back post. And the goalkeeper, Max O'Leary, desperately now going from front post, scrambling across to get there and see if he can block anything at the back post. Foden hits it first time, made like a rocket into the roof of the net, and he can't get there and can't stop it. It's a brilliant goal. I mean, look, I think it's one of those. I don't think there'll be too many complaints from Nigel Pearson at half-time. I think he's just got to hold his hands up and admire the quality of that.
Absolutely, and the quality of Man City has been amazing. I love watching Phil Foden. I mean, his balance, he's clearly not been totally right. There's been injury problems this season, but on the evidence of that first half, wow, he's back to his very best.
He looks razor sharp, doesn't he? And again, very much at home with the role that he's asked to play with at City, which is one that, yes, he has to offer the width, but he's always got licence to drift infield and just rotate with the likes of De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, and he's very, very difficult to tie down. First touch is always a dream. He's always got the thing under control in front of him, which gives him a chance then to find his teammates and make something happen. He's a very, very special player.
Bristol City, for their part, they did pull men forward. There was a moment in the 37th minute, Alex Scott had the ball. He was striding forward towards the box, nutmegged Calvin Phillips and won a corner. It was a wonderful bit of football, and that shows what Alex Scott can do. But should they have had a penalty? Rico Lewis with a foul. Look,
there'll be some that think it was soft. I actually felt that it was a pen. I thought that Mark Sykes had got the wrong side of Rico Lewis, and I thought he's about to take the shot. Arm goes up on his shoulder. Definitely an arm to try and disrupt him and knock him out of his stride. It did so. I thought it could well have been a penalty. I really do. I think it'd been really interesting had the VAR guys been looking at that.
Mate, the VAR would have given a corner. Do you honestly think, with the evidence of what we had from VAR over the years?
Actually, you are right. Yeah. No, but you know what I mean.
It does my head in. People will say, "Oh, if we've had VAR, it'd definitely been a penalty." Who knows what it would have been? It'd have been abandoned. I don't know.
No, but look, I think the forward there had got behind the defender, and he's like on the corner of the 6-yard box, about to take the shot. Arm goes up on his shoulder and sort of kind of just affects him, disrupts him, prevents him from taking that shot, and I think it was a pen.
All ifs, buts and maybes, of course, but I think had a penalty been given on the field, I don't think VAR, had it been here,
thank you, Jim,
would have overruled it.
Quite right.
Are you saying that a referee on the field would have been brave enough to make a big decision like that? I'm not sure. Anyway, the VAR thing's another debate. We haven't got it here, so let's stop talking about it. Correct. Thank goodness. It is 1-0 to Manchester City at half-time. Half-time and an 8 o'clock kick-off in the Championship as well between two playoff chasers at Kenilworth Road, rounding up the first 45. Ian Abrams.
Luton 0, Millwall 1. Millwall literally handed their lead by the goalkeeper, Ethan Horwath, who couldn't keep out a shot from Zian Fleming. Yes, it was well hit, 15 yards out, left to centre, but it was straight at the goalkeeper. He actually got both hands to it, and somehow the ball squirmed through into the back of the net. That's the only effort on target from Millwall, who've been happy to soak up Luton pressure. Luton have come precious, not very close to getting an equaliser. I have to say, they've been very frustrated in the first half. Half-time here at Kenilworth Road is Luton 0, Millwall 1.
Oh, what a signing Fleming has been for Millwall. Could they possibly make the playoffs? Could they possibly be in the Premier League next season? Preston 0, Coventry 0 in the Championship. League 1, Derby 1, Cheltenham 0, David McGoldrick again. Lincoln lead MK Dons 1-0, Posh 0, Charlton 0, Portsmouth 0, Bolton 0. League 2, Wimbledon leads Stevenage 1-0, Ali Al-Hamadi signed in January from Wickham, 3-3 for him for the Dons. Salford 1 up at Barrow. Bradford lead 1-0 at Gillingham, looking for a 4th win in 5. Bradford. Harrogate 0, Northampton 0, Tranmere 0, Crawley 0. And in the National League, Barnet 1, Oldham 1, Boreham Wood 1 up on Dorking, Eastleigh 0, York City 0, Halifax 1, Wealdstone 0. Maidenhead 2, Dagenham and Redbridge 1, the Daggers were 1 up. Maidstone 1, Scunthorpe 0 in the battle of the bottom 2. Torquay 0, Bromley 1. Wrexham 2, Chesterfield 0. Wrexham about to go top. And Yeovil 0, Altrincham 1. You're listening to Kick-Off on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Play at ladbrokes.com. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
FA Cup live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18+. Please drink responsibly.
Whether you're searching for a chopping board or a fancy new blender, Visa Secure Technology helps keep your payments safe. Visa. How you pay matters.
Fast-paced football free-for-all. FA Cup kick-off.
There's the post. That goes in.
On Talksport.
You're listening to the FA Cup 5th round live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18+. Please drink responsibly. A reminder, Brighton 1 up at Stoke.
Blackburn 2 up at Leicester, both those in the second half. Fulham 1, Leeds 0 is into the second half, live on Talksport 2, and here it's half-time at Ashton Gate. Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1. So let's get the half-time odds with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Are you in? Let's go. Play at ladbrokes.com. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Nicola McGee, it's been a terrific cup tie. Bristol City are 1 down, but by no means out of it.
No, they're not, although the odds suggest they have a mountain to climb here. Look, City are as short as 28-1 on. Bristol City 80-1, and the draw is 18-1. If you think Bristol can come out and score next, you can get 6-1, but everything points towards a City win. We don't expect Bristol to score, with the odds saying it's 12-5 that they can find the net. Fulham versus Leeds, an excellent and feisty affair as well. Fulham, they're 4-9 favourites right now. Leeds are 8-1 and the draw is 14-5. But punters are expecting more goals there and both teams to score, with 2-1 Fulham attracting support at 11-2.
Nicola, thank you very much. That was the latest odds with Ladbrokes. Play at ladbrokes.com. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Odds update on Talksport with Ladbrokes. Are you in? Let's go. Play at ladbrokes.com. 18+, begambleaware.org.
So let's take you around the FA Cup grounds. We'll start at the Bet365. Adam Bridge.
7 minutes left here, Adrian. Stoke City 0, Brighton 1. Much better second half. It's even stirred the 13,000 in attendance into life. Even game as well. Opportunities at both ends of the field. Moments ago, there was a pinball moment in the 6-yard box after a corner for Stoke. Campbell and Brown have both had good opportunities but made silly choices and ended up having shots blocked. Up the other end, Sarmiento had the best shot of the half. That was well saved in the end by Josh Bonham. Raft of substitutions for both, but just 6 minutes remaining here for Stoke to try and force this into extra time. It's Stoke City 0, Brighton 1.
Shock of the night could be on at the King Power. Talksport's Jeff Peters.
It's very much on. Leicester 0, Blackburn 2, and they could easily have had 3 or 4 more in the game as Leicester come forward now through Harvey Barnes to try and get back into this, and they have scored through Kelechi Iheanacho. He's come off the bench. He always seems to score in the FA Cup. He scored in the 2 previous rounds, and Leicester have a lifeline here created by Barnes down the left, and Iheanacho is tapped in from close range. Tyrese Dolan with the opener for Blackburn on 33, then Schmodik's getting the second 7 minutes into the second half. Dreadful defending. Ryan Hedges has had 2 brilliant opportunities for the visitors. Schmodik's has had a couple of opportunities as well. Blackburn really should be well clear in this game, but suddenly Leicester are back in this. The assist from Barnes, the finish from Iheanacho, 67 gone. Leicester 1, Blackburn 2.
Goals as they go in on Talksport and on Talksport 2, where it's Fulham 1, Leeds 0 in the FA Cup 5th round. To get Talksport 2, just download the Talksport app for free. Swipe between the 2 stations, and we've got games in the Championship as well. Half-time, Luton 0, Millwall 1. What's going on in the 7:45 kick-off at Deepdale, Graham Beecroft?
No change in the scoreline. Preston North End 0, Coventry City 0, but it's exactly the same as the first half. A very closely contested game, and they've had a couple of chances of the home side. Potts' left-footed shot over the bar should have been on target, and it was a really good opportunity which went begging. But more difficult was Brown's diving header just a few moments ago. Did very well indeed, diving away from goal to get some power and some direction on the header, but the Wilson, the goalkeeper, saved it. Preston North End 0, Coventry City 0.
Well, let's take a look ahead to the second half with Carling.
FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup.
I'm intrigued, Andy Townsend, as to what Nigel Pearson will be telling his Bristol City players. Is it just more of the same in the second half, please?
Yep, tempo. Keep the tempo there. There's a fair bit of activity on the field, Adrian. I mean, I saw Andreas Weimann going through his paces. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a change. Nahki Wells hasn't figured too much. I wonder if maybe Nigel Pearson at half-time might be considering a change in that respect, and maybe play Andreas Weimann off one side and maybe put either Sam Bell or Mark Sykes up the middle. But we'll see. But look, I would imagine the message will be well done. You're still very much in the game. You have creative moments. There might be something for you. Go for it.
And a potential change for Manchester City as well, because Edison's been out warming up for a good 5 or 6 minutes. Remember, Ortega got that bang to the side and also to his hand maybe they've had a look at that hand injury during the half-time interval and decided it's not right for him to continue. I think Ederson will replace him for the second half.
I would imagine, given the rigorous half-time warm-up, Ederson is definitely coming on. It's a great spot from our commentator, Jim Proudfoot. I also think in terms of Andy Weimann coming on, that's more experience. He's still good mates with Jack Grealish. In fact, Andy Weimann's son has asked for a signed Jack Grealish shirt after the game tonight. I mean, do you like that sort of thing or not?
I don't. Listen, mate, I have no problems with anything like that at all, Adrian. You know, look, the guys know each other from back in their Villa days together. So, look, but it shouldn't deter Andreas Weimann. If he does play, if he does get out there, and Jack Grealish is out there on the field at some point tonight, it shouldn't deter him from flying through him if he has to in a challenge and making sure that he comes out on top in that respect. So yeah, look, there will be changes, of course there will, and no surprise to see Nigel Pearson maybe right from the get-go, as the Bristol City team are going to be attacking all of their fans that have been creating a great noise during this game tonight. They're going to be attacking at them, going at them, and I think it's a good idea to really try and lift them right from the get-go.
My son's asked for a signed Adrian Durham hat, by the way. But I think it's because we run out of logs.
I usually charge. That was all thanks to Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup.
Well, breakfast tomorrow, stellar guest list with Charlie Adam looking ahead to Wolves-Liverpool, which is live on Talksport 2 tomorrow night in the Premier League. That game's not on telly. David Seaman will be on breakfast looking ahead to Arsenal-Everton, which is live on Talksport tomorrow night in the Premier League. And in the Premier League, that's not on telly either. Also on the show tomorrow, Huddersfield manager Neil Warnock, who, after watching his side thrashed 4-0 at the weekend at Turf Moor, he said the Championship leaders Burnley were the best Championship side he'd seen in 25 years. I'll make him right as well. If that's not enough star quality, I'll be on at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, alarm permitting. It's Alan Brazil and Ali McCoy from 6 a.m. Their first in-studio meeting for about 5 years, I think. Gabby Agbonlahor was ruined by an Everton fan on the show this morning. We'll join in from 8 a.m. Always good fun. Ali McCoy is here at Ashton Gate tonight, as Bristol City are out there already for the second half, and Man City making their way out as well. Ederson is coming on. Are there any more changes? We're about to find out. And Bristol City will be wanting to change the scoreline as well. They've done well first half. They need to do even better second half. It's Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1. FA Cup fifth round live on Talksport. Your commentary team for the second half, three-time FA Cup semi-finalist Andy Townsend alongside Jim Proudfoot.
So a change of pace, Adrian. Ederson for Ortega is the Manchester City change. And for Bristol City, Andy Weimann has come on. George Tanner is the player that hasn't reappeared. So we'll drop Sykes in at right back. Weimann will play on the right wing for Bristol City. And we get the second half underway with the Robins, red shirts with the thin white pinstripes. They're kicking from left to right, attacking the south stand in this second half at Ashton Gate. Manchester City in their neon yellow with the spray paint black effect hoops.
I like it, Jim. Well
officially. Those were the right words, not necessarily in the right order, but you're familiar with my work. The ball goes out of play from Akanji's header, and it goes out of play for a throw over on the far side. Don't know whether it's an injury for Tanner or whether that's just a tactical change, but they needed Weimann a bit of experience on there.
They certainly did, and you're quite right. So Andy Weimann will want to get involved as quickly as he possibly can. He's on this wide right position. He needs to get hold of the ball, put something in the box, just try and drift things round in behind Ruben Diaz and Akanji, and see if he can give Nahki Wells, who hasn't seen a tremendous amount of it, give him a chance to maybe attack something.
Fulham 2, Leeds United 0. Manor Solomon has scored for a fourth successive game, the Israeli international. That's live for you right now on Talksport 2. Fulham, as things stand at the moment, set fair for a place in the FA Cup quarter-final. So too Brighton are in stoppage time and lead at Stoke. Blackburn 2-1 up at Leicester. Manchester City leading this 1-0. 4 more FA Cup ties tomorrow, and we'll keep you abreast of all the action whilst we bring you 2 live and exclusive Premier League games. A reminder, it's Arsenal's game in hand. They're at home to Everton. We've got it for you tomorrow. It's of huge consequence, of course, for Manchester City. Talksport 2, it's Liverpool against Wolves as the Reds try and get themselves back into the top 6. That's Arsenal-Everton, 7:45 on Talksport. Liverpool-Wolves at 8 on Talksport 2 tomorrow. Out comes Ederson. It was a hospital pass. Now he's brought down Sam Bell in the penalty area. Should I say more accurately, there was a collision between the two in the penalty area. And both are going to need treatment. Ederson's only been on the field 2 minutes. They've lost Ortega to a hand injury. And if Ederson's got a problem here, then Manchester City have a massive problem.
Yeah, it was a scruffy ball back to Ederson, and it forced the goalkeeper to come right to the edge of the 18-yard box. No doubting he gets there first. But there is a coming together between him and Sam Bell, I think that is. Yeah, it is. There's a coming together, and they're kind of clashed shins. Goalkeeper not totally recovered from that yet either. Sam Bell is back up on his feet, but that was a tester very early on. Just entered the fray. Of course, Ederson, freezing cold, bitterly cold night down here in Bristol this evening. A scruffy back pass to him, which forces him to come sprinting out, has to put something on it, and gets clobbered in doing so.
Well, he's okay. He's going to be able to continue. You're listening to Bristol City against Manchester City in the FA Cup 5th round. It's live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus. Please drink responsibly. Rico Lewis in the midfield for City. Manchester City, that is. And he's played it back for Ake. Run through the two teams for you in a moment, with Ake finding Calvin Phillips, Bernardo Silva. 3 red shirts around him, one of whom, Scott, very nearly able to pick the Portuguese's pocket, but he did well to recover. And they'll play it back towards the edge of the D. Ruben Dias will work it out towards Akanji. Akanji down the right-hand touchline. De Bruyne stretching, bringing it back under control. Laying it back for Ruben Dias. Bristol City lining up O'Leary in goal. Sykes, Viner, Callas and Pring, the back 4. James and Williams, then Vyman, Scott and Bell, and Wells up top. Manchester City, Ederson in goal, on as a half-time substitute. Akanji, Dias and Ake, Lewis and Phillips, Mahrez, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva and Foden, and Alvarez up top. Here's Riyad Mahrez on the right-hand touchline. He's won a throw, and it's full-time at Stoke. Here's Adam Bridge.
Stoke 0, Brighton 1. Brighton, the first team into the quarter-finals. A first win over Stoke for 22 years. Evan Ferguson with the only goal of the game after half an hour. Much more even in the second half, but Brighton always looked that class above, and they're into the quarter-finals. Stoke City 0, Brighton 1.
Stevenage have turned it around in League 2. They are 2-1 up at Wimbledon. Here's Phillips for Ake. Back for Calvin Phillips again. Play down the inside left channel. Foden had made his way there. Bernardo Silva actually stepped across the line and controlled it. He sensed that it wasn't going to get the Foden. Brilliant play between Foden and Phillips. Phillips laying it back for Ake. He's 20 yards outside the Bristol City penalty area. Led with the left edge of the box as he works it forward into the feet of Foden. And he goes back out of play. And shepherded out by Alvarez for a throw that'll be taken on the Manchester City left-hand side. They lead 1-0. Here's Andy Townsend.
Yeah, Manchester City teasing, passing, probing, just trying to wait for that right opportunity to play that defence splitting pass. Calvin Phillips quite prominent since we've got going again in the second period. City up on the halfway line in that customary position, that position we see them in so often.
Oh, Ake is playing in Foden with a delicious ball. Foden across the edge of the 6-yard box. Alvarez threw himself at it. Callas went with him and has got himself tangled in the net, but he did enough to put Alvarez off. And it's cleared. Alvarez, to his credit, has helped Callas back out of the net. Play continued around the pair of them. They both trotted out to try and play. Well, Callas sprinted out to play everybody offside. Here's Rico Lewis now. He's put across the edge of the 6-yard box. That's too high for Alvarez. And he goes out of play for a throw to the Bristolians.
Really good play from Manchester City. Down the left side, the ball was clipped in behind Mark Sykes, who's in this right-back position for Phil Foden, who's onto it really quickly. Unlike Mahrez did in the first half for Foden's goal, Foden plays the same ball fast and hard and low across the 6-yard box, and they couldn't quite find Alvarez to just apply the finishing touch.
Mahrez towards the edge of the penalty area, but he's lost out to the retreating Bell, who's come back and put his foot in. There's been another goal at Kenilworth Road. Ian Abraham.
6 minutes into the second half, Luton 0, Millwall 2. Vogel's hammer with a shot which was then turned back across goal for the Bermondsey Haaland, Tom Bradshaw, to put home from 2 yards out. Luton 0, Millwall 2.
And League 2 Tranmere lead Crawley by a goal to nil. Crawley sinking like a stone, 2 points from safety, albeit they got 4 games in hand before tonight, but they're trailing again on the Wirral tonight. Tranmere leading by a goal to nil. Here's Akanji. Manchester City a goal to the good in the West Country, with Nathan Ake in possession now. The last time the two sides met was a really good game here, and Manchester City won that 3-2 with Kevin De Bruyne scoring the winner in the 6th minute of stoppage time. They'd won the first leg 2-1 as well, so made it through to the League Cup final in 2018 in comfortable order, and went on to lift the trophy. Here's Akanji. It just looked as though he was pulled back there. It was a little pirouette. He kept possession, but he kind of urged Andre Mariner to blow the whistle by stopping, and the Brummie referee has given the free kick Manchester City's way. That
free kick there's less contact from Nahki Wells on Akanji than what there was from Rico Lewis on Mark Sykes for the penalty. I mean, that happens a lot in football. We often see that, don't we, where, you know, fouls on the halfway line are given and those tough calls in the box just don't seem to register. The same with referees, and that's a classic example of that.
Brighton already through the FA Cup quarter-finals. Fulham will be joining them. They're 3 up now at home to Leeds. It continues live on Talksport 2, but Alexander Mitrovic has got the goal, which has promptly been disallowed, I understand, for offside. So it is just a 2-0, but it is live for you right now on Talksport 2. If you've got the Talksport app, you can just swipe one way and then the other to keep abreast of all the pertinent action as it happens, both here at Ashton Gate and at Craven Cottage as well. But just confirmation, still Fulham 2, Leeds 0 in that game. With Ake in possession here, it's Manchester City a goal to the good. Bernardo Silva fall for Foden, who takes it beautifully with his left instep in behind his right leg, played it to De Bruyne. Now it's Mahrez back for Alvarez, who couldn't supply the finish on what would have been a picture book Manchester City goal, and Bristol City can clear.
What a ball that was, again played into the box, and the way that Phil Foden took that on the run, Jim, was so beautiful and so easy, so natural for him.
And he's got it again now, playing with a swagger and an enjoyment that we haven't always seen over the course of this season. But he's back on top of his game and he's in possession. They lay it back for De Bruyne. He comes down towards Bernardo Silva, who's near the corner of the penalty area as he lays it back for De Bruyne. Foden had just made a run ghosting inside the penalty area, but De Bruyne didn't think he could squeeze it through. So plays a more patient pass instead towards Ake. Ake down towards Bernardo Silva. Ake's got it again. And it's cleared by Sykes. And now to play for a throw, and Pepax as the ball boy. And it's a throw which Manchester City will take. We're 10 minutes into the second half. You're on Talksport with Jim Proudfoot and Andy Townsend. Just on the south bank of the River Avon tonight. The twinkling lights of the Clifton Suspension Bridge are visible away to our left on a gorgeous but crisp evening here. Here's De Bruyne towards the edge of the penalty area, riding a challenge through towards Alvarez, really well covered. That's brilliant defending from Sykes. Playing it right back in this second half, right wing in the first, but he used all his footballing intelligence there to cover the run of Alvarez and just flick it out of his path.
Brilliant play, wasn't it? Really, really good defending that from Mark Sykes. Had to track that run all the way into the box, and real timely interception. The home team haven't been able to get Alex Scott involved so far in the second period like they had in the first half up to now. City gradually starting to take a stronger grip on this game.
But Bristol City still hanging in there, still with a puncher's chance of at least taking this to extra time. 11 minutes gone in the second half. Foden down the line for Bernardo Silva. His cross cleared by the stumbling Viner, but no harm done, and he's quickly back on his feet and urging the Robins back line to push out. And Zach Viner, who was once in a Rotherham side, beaten 7-0 in the FA Cup by Manchester City in a loan spell from here. He's had the best season of his career to date, and is marshalling that back line well today. 4 from Akanji. into the feet of Riyad Mahrez. Back for De Bruyne. Kanji's got it again. Kanji bringing it forward, the former Dortmund man. 10 yards inside the Bristol City half as he drops it off to his right-hand side for the gloved Riyad Mahrez. Forward again into the feet of the dark-haired Lewis. A shock of curly hair. Back towards Bernardo Silva. Down from him towards Foden. Foden coming in off the left flank and gliding forward again, finding Nathan Ake. Ake back out towards Bernardo Silva. Thought about a first-time cross, then thought better of it. Little check ball back towards Ake. Ake with a step over and then turns and plays in Phillips. And Phillips turns and goes back for Diaz. Diaz back inside his own half. And just pushes forward towards Calvin Phillips again. Now down towards Ake. Ake cleverly playing it round the corner past Weimann, who's hardly had a kick for Bristol City since he's come on. Alvarez has just dropped into a slightly deeper position.
And they're playing such accurate one-touch passing at the moment, Manchester City. It's difficult right now. The toughest spell in the game for Bristol City. They've got to hang in there.
Here's Rico Lewis. Lewis 15 yards outside the penalty area. He's under pressure from Scott. He's just changed the line of attack and worked it forward towards De Bruyne. News of a goal at Luton in a moment as De Bruyne plays it back for Ruben Dias again. Now towards Ake. Ake, patient, bringing it forward. Bernardo Silva stretching to bring it under control. I think it was actually intended for Foden and not him, but he still controlled it and recycled it back inside the centre circle. And now Diaz looks long, out towards Mahrez, headed away well by the retreating Pring, the Bristol City left back. De Bruyne forward. Mahrez trying to slip it in towards Alvarez, and Bristol City can bring it under control, but Weimann's lost it. Mahrez getting it back and then goes down under a challenge from Weiner, and it's a free kick about a yard outside the penalty area. Let's get news of that Luton goal. Ian Abrahams.
Luton 1, Millwall 2. It's gone to Elijah Adebayo after Drame had an effort come back off the crossbar. He touched in the rebound. Luton 1, Millwall 2.
Derby leading Cheltenham by 2-0. Lewis Dobbin with the second of those. It's Portsmouth 1, Bolton 1. Pompey equalising just a few moments ago after Dion Charles had given Bolton the lead. But Weiner has conceded a free kick here to Mahrez. Maybe a touch on the soft side, Andy?
A little, but certainly it was a poor touch from Andy Weimann. And then Riyad Mahrez was onto it quickly, shaped to shoot with his left foot, and then chopped it back onto the right, drew that foul from Zach Weiner. And this is as good as it gets for Kevin De Bruyne. He's about 2 yards outside the box. There's a ruck of players, red shirts in front of Max O'Leary. There's 3 of City shirts there as well. The goalkeeper's not going to see a lot of this, Jim.
No, not at all. Wells down behind the wall. It's De Bruyne that fires it in. It's cleared. Back out for Mahrez through a crowd of legs, but not enough of them to do any damage. And that's cleared as well. Back out towards Bernardo Silva. We've reached an hour. It's 1-0 to Manchester City on Talksport. Still Bristol City with everybody back behind the ball within 20 yards of their own goal. Mahrez. Manchester City in complete control, but still lead by just the one. De Bruyne to Calvin Phillips. Phillips just working it forward towards Mahrez, and back it comes again. Now De Bruyne once more. Mahrez trying to take it on towards the edge of the penalty area. Good defending though. Weiner had a major part to play in that along with James. Bristol City will try and break quickly with the pacey Sykes down the right hand side. Foden coming back. Ake can't prevent the cross. Shot comes in from Weimann. It was blocked. He didn't really get hold of it. It hit Ruben Dias. Now Manchester City will try and play their way out on the counter-attack with Ake. Slipping it forward for De Bruyne. Crossfield ball is on. Has he got it right? Not quite. Really good work from Pring. Not quite enough on the pass from De Bruyne around towards Mahrez. He got the angle right. Not quite enough pace. And Pring threw himself at it with a diving header, steered it back to his keeper.
Great bit of football. First the attack from Bristol City. Really great run from Mark Sykes. Strong, powerful burst from the right back position all the way deep into City territory. The shot from Andreas Weimann was blocked. Then very quickly, as they have done all night, City countered so swiftly and very nearly. Kevin De Bruyne finds Riyad Mahrez on the far side.
Well, here's Alex Scott, who we've seen little of in the second half, but boy, did the Guernsey Grealish, as he's known, catch the eye in the first half. Ball Work back for James. James out of the left for Pring, and he will find his goalkeeper O'Leary, who was in the Shrewsbury side that held Liverpool 3 seasons ago in the FA Cup. Ball over the top, and it's a good one as well for Bristol City. Vyman, right-hand side of the area. 2 to try and pick out in the middle. And the backpedaling Akanji did well, off balance, to steer it away from Bell.
It's a real chance, that. Because Andreas Vyman this time down the right side have got into a good position, a crossing position, with 2 red shirts in the box. Sam Bell arriving at the back post. Naki Wells just in between penalty spot and 6-yard. Couldn't supply the right delivery.
Now De Bruyne with a peach of the ball down the inside left channel. And Foden's chased after it and has got there. Just going into stoppage time at Leicester, where Blackburn leads still by 2 goals to 1. Leicester looking for an equaliser to force the game to extra time. Brighton already through. They've won at Stoke tonight. Fulham 2 up at home to Leeds on Talksport 2. Manchester City lead here 1-0. They've led since the 7th minute. Here's the goal scorer, Phil Foden, 47 on his back, finding number 82, Rico Lewis. 1-2 between him and Akanji. Out towards Riyad Mahrez, another player who's got an excellent record in this competition. 6 in his last 6 FA Cup ties. Bristol City doing well to defend with Callas, but it's just gone over the line and out for a throw that Manchester City will take over on the far touchline. Here's Andy Townsend.
Yeah, good defending there from Thomas Callas to deny Julian Alvarez. City are keeping the ball. They're popping those 10-yard passes around. They're dragging those red shirts onto the ball. And that back four is, as it should do, is creeping upwards, and they're just offering a little bit of room in behind. But all the time this game is at 1. The longer the clock ticks down, the more the home team will feel that they just might pinch something.
Zach Viner plays a long ball forward for Bristol City. Manchester City won it back, and Sykes has rescued it. Viner goes back for his goalkeeper, clear towards halfway. It was a nice take by Scott, who had Phillips in hard behind him immediately. Scott fouled, Foden helps him back to his feet. Free kick to Bristol City on halfway.
Yep, nice play that from Alex Scott. I haven't seen too much of him in the second period, and when he does get the ball, you just get the feeling something might happen. He's that sort of character, this young man. We spoke a lot about him before the game. Haven't been disappointed with his performance at all. It's just that second half he's not been able to get involved in the game as of yet.
Matty James turning in the midfield, playing it forward. Vyman on as a half-time substitute, now getting more into the game, lays it off. Sykes to Scott. He's lost it this time to Bernardo Silva. Foden caught by James as he laid it off towards De Bruyne. Foden is still down. Play continues with Alvarez. And O'Leary's handling good enough, because had he spilt that, Mahrez would have been there to tap it in. Foden gets back to his feet and then wires straight into a challenge on Sykes. The red mist descended there big time. And play will be stopped, and that should be a yellow card. Foden was down hurt for a long time. Saw the play restarted. It was a Lazarus-like recovery, and he threw himself into Sykes and has conceded a free kick. And Andre Mariner's going to calm him down, and he gives him a yellow card.
Quite rightly. Quite rightly. And he's nowhere near Mark Sykes there. Getting nowhere near the ball. And not only was it a poor challenge, a late challenge, but it actually denied Bristol City the chance to counter-attack. So I think Phil Foden can have no complaints there at all from Andre Mariner. That's a yellow card.
His third yellow card of the season. You know, it really was a red mist moment. Now Ruben Dias has lent into Bell, and no free kick is given when most anticipated that it would be. Bernardo Silva is in the left back position for Manchester City for a moment as he plays it forward and makes sure that he wins the throw. He did well to flick it off Vyman, but Manchester City know they're in a game as we approach the midway stage of the second half.
That did look like a foul from Ruben Dias there on Sam Bell. It really did. It's a mismatch in terms of who's going to win that ball. The ball's bouncing up towards Sam Bell. He backs his body into Ruben Dias, who just clatters through him right on the edge of the box. No free kick given.
Manchester City's next match at home to Newcastle. You can hear it exclusively for national radio on Talksport's Game Day Live on Saturday. Coverage begins at 11 ahead of a 12:30 kickoff, and then Arsenal's response live on Talksport 2 as they host Bournemouth Saturday at 3 And don't forget, Game Day Live with Adrian Durham from 2:30 on Saturday. It's coming from Stamford Bridge for all the goals as they go in from the Premier League and EFL, including that Arsenal game, Chelsea against Leeds and Wolves-Tottenham, plus a classified results service at 5 o'clock. But just to reiterate, Manchester City-Newcastle, 12:30 Saturday, live and exclusive for National Radio on Talksport. Alvarez losing out to Sykes, who guides it back towards halfway. Callas, the Hungarian international, plays it forward. Oh, Diaz a little bit tardy, and Wells almost embarrassed him. Diaz did get it away at the second time of asking. But Bristol City able to play about 10-15 yards further upfield now. James has got it forward. Good run from Williams. Right-footed ball in from him. Not the worst. Ake's diving header puts it behind for a corner.
Best spell this is for Bristol City in the second half. We've had to wait 22 minutes for that, but no doubt in the last 5 minutes, and mainly when they just turn Manchester City around and just get people chasing after the ball, worrying defenders. Corner coming in off this right-hand side.
And it comes from Matty James, deep towards the penalty spot, where he looked for Callas, but only found Ake. And it'll go out to the left-hand side for Williams. Williams working it down the line. Another ball deep to the far post. Wells heading it down, but De Bruyne was there first, and he'll hammer it clear from inside his own penalty area. Back he goes towards Scott. Scott's the deepest of Bristol City's outfield players, but it's a great ball forward to find Bell. Bell on the edge of the penalty area, just losing out, and Lewis can hitch kick it to relative safety. But back Bristol City will come again. This last 5 minutes has been arguably their best spell of the game.
Yeah, really good, really encouraging.
They've got it now with Williams trying to drive through towards the edge of the penalty area. Pring ends up on the deck. Bristol City go back 10 yards but have still got it. Pring again, the full-back, trying a little trick. He's been able to somehow smuggle the ball to Sam Bell. High right-footed ball inside the box. Easily claimed by Edison, but did he take it over the line? South Stand said yes, just the referee said no. And his decision, the one that counts. De Bruyne dragging the ball away from James in the midfield. Manchester City going to be making a change in a moment. We're going to see Grealish for Mahrez. Phillips, they're still playing at Leicester. They've played 7 minutes of stoppage time, but it is now all over. Jeff Peters.
It's finished Leicester 1, Blackburn 2, a thoroughly deserved cup upset. Tyrese Dolan and Sammy Smodics with the goals either side of the break. They had loads of other clear chances. They managed to see it through despite Iheanacho pulling one back midway through the second period. It's a big scalp for Rovers. They are in the quarter-finals. Leicester 1, Blackburn 2.
Bolton fourth in League One. We're 1-0 up at Portsmouth, 2-1 down now. Riley Towler's got both of those for Pompey. Here's Williams in the midfield. So Brighton are through, Blackburn are through. Alvarez not quite through as Bernardo Silva tried to play him in, but Bristol City smuggle it back to their goalkeeper. He's had a tricky night, actually, Julian Alvarez at times tonight.
Yes, he has. I mean, there was a chance for him there, actually. Bernardo Silva, you would have expected a better ball from him. Had he have done so, he would have been through one-on-one with the goalkeeper.
Wimbledon 2, Stevenage 3.
What a
Cross
ball.
comes in from the right-hand side. Oh, great delivery from Vyman. Bell came to meet it, but it just got too big on him too quickly, and he's ended up heading wide of the near post.
What a ball. Ruben Diaz it is who loses the ball right on the byline. Vyman sweeps it in beautifully with his right foot, and Bell is inside the 6-yard box with the ball on his head, and it may have come just a fraction behind him. In the end, Akanji perhaps doing enough to disturb him, but it looked like he only had to just put his forehead on that, get it on target, and that would have gone in.
So Mahrez off, and Grealish comes on to replace him for Manchester City. A player who's in his best form in a Manchester City shirt at the moment. And Grealish comes on for the final 19 minutes of normal time. Manchester City lead 1-0. They've done so now for more than an hour. Bristol City had the ball away. Sykes didn't get the angle right on that. Callas had to win that against De Bruyne because it was 4 against 2 if he didn't. He got there just, but just was good enough.
Do you know, 2 or 3 times tonight, Thomas Callas has gone to ground in that sort of situation where He has to make the challenge. And again there, brilliantly timed interception. There would have been 3 City players just bearing down on Max O'Leary in the Bristol City goal. Super challenge that from the centre half. Really good work.
Portsmouth 3, Bolton 1 now down at Fratton Park. John Mousinho's men set for the victory tonight. It'll be a blow for Bolton's automatic promotion hopes from League One. Here's Rico Lewis for Manchester City. 18 to go. Manchester City lead it. Akanji's got possession. Grealish in space on the Manchester City left. If Akanji fancies the long diagonal, just plays it short for Alvarez and urges him to come back to meet the ball, which he does. Play back for Akanji again. Now to Diaz, and Akanji wants more. He just threatened to go back to his goalkeeper. Rolled it square for Ruben Diaz instead. Diaz got caught. Free kick given away by Scott.
You can see what City are trying to do. They keep playing these short passes across the halfway line into Alvarez, 10-yard passes. They're just trying to drag those red shirts up to leave a bit of space in behind. Sometimes in football, when you're so dominant in possession, the team that you're playing against, they can't get out. There's no room to go in behind. There's no room at all to find a pass to actually just try and penetrate through them. So City trying to tease those red shirts towards the halfway line and then leave some space for a runner.
Bernardo Silva working it out towards the Manchester City right-hand side. Since the change has been made, Foden's gone out to the right, his favoured position, and Grealish in his favoured position on the left. He just drifts inside, getting booed every time he touches the ball. Back from De Bruyne to Ake. Ake to Calvin Phillips. Phillips for Ruben Diaz inside the centre circle. The play now down towards Kevin De Bruyne again. De Bruyne angling one over the top. Grealish onside. I think a lot of people looking across to the flag, but it wasn't raised. Here's De Bruyne. Oh, great ball from De Bruyne. Ake running round it, laying it off. Alvarez can't get into a shooting position, but it's deflected in as Foden fires it towards goal. And it's hit Callas and gone in. And Manchester City had 2 goals to the good. Foden's got them both.
Great football. Great patient football this time from Manchester City. There's no doubting that it's Phil Foden's shot that gives Bristol City all the problems. But again, great ball from Kevin De Bruyne to find Nathan Ake. He finds Alvarez, who goes 1 more, 2 more towards Phil Foden. I think it's Zach Viner in the end that just sticks out a foot, and it just unfortunately goes in off the centre half. And I'm not sure if that strike from Phil Foden is finding the corner. I'm really not 100% sure. But certainly the big centre half puts a foot on it, and that is enough to knock it past his goalkeeper and give Manchester City a cushion. Actually, just seeing a run of it there, an angle of it, it looks like it's going wide, that shot. I don't think that's going in the back of the net had the centre half have not tried to intercept.
Manchester City lead by 2 goals to 0, 15 minutes to go. And they're glad to have that little bit of insurance, that little bit of daylight between the two sides, because Bristol City had been getting themselves into some decent positions. And Manchester City recovering their foothold in the game. And now 2 goals to the good. Quarter of an hour to go. Bristol City turn it out towards the right flank for Sykes. Sykes trying to nutmeg Ake and work it down the line. There's been some wonderful, fluent champagne football from Manchester City.
There has at times, Jim. Yeah. And every run that they make, City, is a sprint. Whenever they really go, they go absolute foot to the floor. They hold nothing back. If they can play one touch, they will. If they can play forward, they will. And it's not always been straightforward for them, because Bristol City have been incredibly game and really courageous where they've tried to force errors, and that's not easy out of a team like Manchester City. Once or twice they've been successful. Ironically, been having a good spell in the game, but conceded that all-important second goal, which surely will tell you that City now will see this game out and get themselves through to the quarter-finals.
Bristol City are just readying Jada Silva down beneath us, which almost certainly means a straight swap of left back for Cam Pring. James Long ball over the top from him, brought down by Sykes for Bristol City inside the Manchester City penalty area, but he snatched at it and sent it high and wide of the near post and out for a goal kick.
Unlucky, right idea again. Mark Sykes, who's worked really, really hard from the right back position now. He's up into the opposing 18-yard box. Decent first touch, but the cross is a poor one.
So the Silva comes on for Pring for Bristol City. Change being made with 13 minutes to go. Elsewhere, Fulham 2 up at home to Leeds. Live on Talksport 2. Blackburn have not less the outs, the shock of the night. Brighton have won at Stoke in the FA Cup 5th round. Millwall lead at Luton 2-1 in the Championship. Almost over at Deepdale. Preston against Coventry still 0-0 there. And games approaching their conclusions elsewhere. The big one in the National League. Tonight, Wrexham have won and are back on top of the table. They've beaten Chesterfield. 2-0, Manchester City lead this. And their almost immaculate record against lower division opposition under Pep is set to continue. Almost immaculate. Akanji back for Diaz. Diaz to Edison, who, if you're just joining us, came on as a half-time substitute for the injured Ortega. It'll be rolled out by Edison to the right-hand side of the box. Now, they had Scott Carson on the bench as well at the weekend, Manchester City, but no Carson tonight. And I would imagine he'll have an elongated run on the bench over the next few weeks if Ortega has picked up a serious hand injury. We'll try and confirm the severity of that problem for the German with Pep after the game. Sports Bar will take your calls, reflecting on all of the night's action. 03717223344 is the number. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy taking your calls on Talksport from 10 o'clock tonight. And post-match reaction from all of the men that matter over the course of the evening here on Talksport on Sports Bar as well. Bristol City flagged offside as the long ball is played forward towards Naki Wells. A few tired eyes, I would imagine, here at Ashton Gate tonight. A few tired legs, a few tired eyes in the stands as well. Maybe a few that were up listening to the cricket last night, which was one of the most extraordinary finishes to a test match in history. Of which more in a moment as Jack Grealish picks it up, left-hand side of the penalty area here for Manchester City. He stunned the palms of the goalkeeper, who got lucky. O'Leary didn't know where that had gone. It went through his hands, ended up on the roof of the net, and now to play for a corner.
40-yard diagonal strike out to Jack Grealish on this left-hand side, as you would expect. First touch is absolutely perfect. Sets him up to drive into the box towards the byline. Stands it up with his left foot. And the goalkeeper, Max O'Leary, just tipping that one over the bar for a corner on the far side.
A corner which will be taken on the Manchester City right, a left-footed in-swinging delivery, which is headed away by Vyman, back outside the penalty area, but only just. Foden doing well to bring it under control, and still he goes. Great tenacity, good return ball to him from Ake. Foden then sliding in. He's on a yellow card. He's got to make sure he doesn't miss time a rash one. Manchester City lost their defensive shape for a moment as Bristol City looked to break, and then Akanji just uses his experience, comes across and gives away a relatively cynical free kick, but he stopped Bristol City's counter-attack in its infancy.
See, that to me, that Andre Marriner should know that the foul there by Akanji is just to break up any chance of a counter-attack. It was cynical and it should be a card.
But it wasn't. And Phil Foden remains the only player in the book so far. Full-time whistle's gone at Deepdale, Graham Beecroft.
Preston North End 0, Coventry City 0. 2 points separated these teams before the kick-off. That's the way it was at the end after a really good game of football. A closely contested affair in which both sides had decent chances. Neither team could take them, though. Johnson and Delap failed to convert for North End, while Norton, Cuffey and Bidwell were closest to breaking the deadlock for Coventry. A draw, undoubtedly a fair result. Preston 0, Coventry 0.
And here at Ashton Gate, Manchester City have a third. Thanks to the goal of the night from Kevin De Bruyne.
Fabulous strike. Jack Grealish again is the provider. He picks the ball up wide left. and he rolls this ball infield to Kevin De Bruyne, who picks it up 45 yards out, strides 10 yards, then has a look, picks his head up, just sees where the goalkeeper is, backpedaling towards the goal line, and decides to wrap that cultured right foot around the ball beautifully, sends it right into the corner, just out of the reach of Max O'Leary for City's third.
Oh, a sensational strike from Kevin De Bruyne, who scored the winner here in the League Cup semi-final back in 2018. And scores again tonight. It's only his 5th of the season. He's found goals much harder to come by over the course of this campaign. But he's scored a third there that has put the tie well and truly to bed. Manchester City will now make a double change. Sergio Gomez and Cole Palmer are coming on. Nathan Ake is making way. And Phil Foden is the other player that has come off. Bristol City have made a change as well. And it's one of the youngsters, Marley Francois, the Australian-born attacking midfielder, who comes on for only the 2nd appearance of his senior career. He's replaced Naki Wells.
Yep. So as you would expect now, late changes. I mean, as it happens now, City are cruising to a victory. It didn't look like that for a long spell in this game. Their goals have been wonderful. They've been of such class and such accuracy. You know, the first one from Foden, that one from De Bruyne, out of the very, very top draw. But it's been a good cup tie, and it hasn't felt like a 3-0 where City have had all the ball and they're rolling it around and just far too good for their opponent. Bristol City, I think, have given a good account of themselves, but the quality that City have, and they've shown it, I think, in its full glory at times this evening. Some of these goals have been really, really good.
So Manchester City are going to be going through to yet another FA Cup quarter-final. They won 8 of their last 10 fifth-round ties. And Bristol City's name will be added to that of Newport and Sheffield Wednesday and Swansea and Peterborough, the sides that Manchester City have beaten at this stage of the competition over the last 5 seasons. Bristol City winning it back, looking for a consolation. Scott is in there but has lost out. Phillips can play it forward. Alvarez doing well. Grealish takes it on the turn. Kevin De Bruyne making ground to his left-hand side. Grealish travelling with the ball now, slips in De Bruyne. De Bruyne clipping it in towards the far post. And Francois came back and half got it away. Back out only as far as Grealish, still inside the penalty area. Sergio Gomez has it now. The City have flattened off to a 4 now. For the final 10 minutes, Sergio Gomez has come on and he's playing in his favoured left-back role. De Bruyne back for Gomez and now to Diaz. Kanji, 6 to go. 3-0 Manchester City lead. Lewis now out as a more orthodox right-back in possession. And as soon as you say that, he drifts into midfield again. But Kanji, Ake and now Sergio Gomez will just play the ball about at the back for Manchester City. 4-2 Kevin De Bruyne.
And it's a keep ball session now. Once you've got 3 goals in your back pocket, you don't have to be in a hurry to serve it forward. Clock running away. Time to just take control, manage the game, see it out properly. And they're doing just that.
And the final Manchester City change is imminent, with Peroni about to come on for what will be his FA Cup debut. Peroni will replace De Bruyne, we understand. Manchester City have got it with Gomez at the back. Manchester City going through. Fulham are through. They've beaten Leeds 2-0. Brighton won at Stoke. Leicester going out tonight. That's a big shot. Lost at home to Blackburn. First home FA Cup defeat they've had against a side from a lower division since 2001, when Roy Essendon and Wycombe Wanderers beat them, which you might remember. Manchester City inside the penalty area. Alvarez with a shot. They took a deflection, but did it hit a hand? Viner was the Bristol City player involved. Sykes cleared it from down by the post. Manchester City will come again.
Yeah, big call actually whether or not Bernardo Silva was offside in that move. When the ball came to Julian Alvarez in the box, the shot wasn't one of his sweetest. It was a bit scruffy, but there was a big shout for a handball. The referee wasn't sure, and of course, quite rightly, doesn't give it.
It's the Manchester City fans that you can hear, but it's been A wonderful ovation tonight from the Bristol City supporters, and now Williams gets involved in the midfield, and he is squaring up. Was it Bernardo Silva he was involved with initially, perhaps, but the referee is just going to have to go across and try and sort this out. Ruben Dias is in the ear of the referee. I didn't see what the initial flashpoint was there, Andy.
No, because the ball had got transferred down the other end and we've all followed the ball. Then all of a sudden a big roar went up. We saw Williams and Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva's getting the yellow card. I would imagine Andre Mariner is going to dish out another one for the Bristol City number 8, Joe Williams.
And Bernardo Silva, in picking up a caution, will be suspended for the quarter-final.
Wow, and that really is silly. 3-0 up to get involved and embroiled in something silly like that. It's a bit accidental. Joe Williams sort of clatters into Bernardo Silva, who gets up, didn't like it, shoves him in the back.
And both of the protagonists in that are going to be taken straight off. Bernardo Silva will be replaced here by Perrone, and Bristol City will withdraw Williams, and he's going to be replaced by one of the youngsters, Omar Taylor-Clark, who will come on for only the third senior appearance of his career. While those changes are made, news of a late goal at Kenilworth Road. Ian Abrahams.
2 to go. It's Luton 2, Millwall 2. The comeback complete. Substitute Luke Berry has equalised for the Hatters. Luton 2, Millwall 2.
Moose, thank you very much indeed. I was talking about the cricket, incidentally, a few minutes ago. It is live and exclusive on Talksport 2. The Test Series in New Zealand, the coverage brilliant. And our international cricket continues with England's whiteball tour of Bangladesh. And the first ODI gets underway on Talksport 2 Wednesday morning at a slightly safer 8 a.m. as opposed to 10 p.m, which it has been over the course of the last few nights. But Talksport 2's cricket team doing such a fantastic job keeping you abreast of all the action in one of the most absorbing test matches in history. Bristol City will make their final change, and it's another man of experience, Andy King, who has actually scored an FA Cup goal against Manchester City in the past. The Welsh international comes on for the last minute or so of normal time. 3-0 Manchester City. They've known for a while that they're going through. Foden on 7 and 74, De Bruyne on 81. And Manchester City comfortable, but Bristol City have given a much better account of themselves than perhaps that raw scoreline suggests.
Yeah, they have. They've given a really honest account of themselves right from the get-go. They've chased after things. They've worked exceptionally hard. They've always tried to pressurise Manchester City, even though they know how good they are, how clever they are at finding ways to beat that pressure and beat that press. But they've kept on doing it. They've persisted with it. City have scored some beautiful goals. They have. They really have. Some of their football at times has been so fast and so swift and so accurate. Been very, very difficult to deal with and to live with. So no doubting the better team, no doubting Manchester City's quality. But also, I think this Bristol City team will get a really, really encouraging shout from their fans when the final whistle goes.
Well, it's the kind of performance that will stand them in good stead for the Sevenside derby in South Wales at the weekend. Bristol City away at Cardiff as they look to extend their long unbeaten league streak. Still haven't lost a league game in 2023 so far, but they are going down to their first defeat in all competitions tonight. We're in 2 minutes of stoppage time, and Bristol City are 3-0 down. And don't forget, Talksport breakfast tomorrow morning. Ali McCoy sitting no more than 3 feet in front of Andy and myself with the first-hand recollections of what has happened tonight. It's been an absorbing FA Cup tie. They'll also look ahead to Arsenal against Everton, which is live on Talksport tomorrow, and Liverpool against Wolves live on Talksport 2 tomorrow as Edison comes out and needed quick feet just to flick the ball away from Taylor-Clark, having just for a moment got himself stranded in no man's land. David Seaman, Charlie Adam, Neil Warnock all on with Ali and Alan Brazil tomorrow from 6 on Talksport.
We'll look forward to that. Edison there, a little fortunate, comes beyond the 18-yard line. Whenever a goalkeeper strays into that position, they've got to make sure they make good contact with the ball, make a good decision. Actually, he was a little fortunate there to see that ricochet to one of his teammates. Could easily have dropped to a red shirt.
There's only one City. Chart the travelling Mancunians away to our left-hand side. Job well done by them tonight. Under a little bit of pressure at times, Bristol City certainly doing extremely well, paying lip service at putting the pressure on. And they've attacked the game as well as Nigel Pearson could possibly have hoped. Got the tactics right, the game plan was good, his players did him proud, but ultimately the class has ended up telling. Ball headed down by Callas, brought under control in the midfield by Taylor Clark for Bristol City. Back from him to Viner. Viner chipping it down towards Tykes, who controls it on his chest, and his is the last touch of the night. And it's job done for Manchester City, who so seldom slip up against non-Premier League opposition in the FA Cup. And this one, in the end, has proved to be relatively routine. They led for all but the opening 6.5 minutes. Phil Foden with a couple. Kevin De Bruyne added one late on as well. Manchester City make it through. But Bristol City, whilst losing their 12-game unbeaten streak, can leave the field with head held high. Gave a really good account of themselves. The kind of performance that shows much promise for their playoff chase and for the game away at Cardiff next up at the weekend. Pep Guardiola and Nigel Pearson are just in an animated, friendly discussion, looking back over 90 minutes. Plenty of respect between the pair of them. But it is Pep's men that go through. Manchester City have won 3-0 at Bristol City tonight.